I stuck close to him, and when the train came, they yelled out military, so we jumped on, and we got to Colorado. And I said, you know, how do I get from Granada to the camps? He said, arrangements have been made for me. And I thought, gee, what would I have done if he wasn't there? Because I would have been dumped off in this town, and the camps were miles away. And so he said, just stay with me. So there was a truck waiting from the camp, a convoy truck, army truck, and then so I got on with him, and we got to the camps. And you know, I never saw him after that, and I often wonder, I didn't even know his name, but only his last name, because when he told me, and I remembered his sister. And so just recently I told someone who interviewed me about that gentleman, I said, I don't know what happened to his family, because we all had to scatter when we came back. And this person's husband got on something, and he searched on this, and he said, this gentleman's name was Ted Kinoshita from Walnut Grove. I said, yes, he was Walnut Grove. He passed away 5 years ago. I said, oh gosh, I said, I thought of him, and I never knew what happened to him. And I thought maybe he was killed in the war. And I felt so badly that I hadn't, you know, sought him out. But there were so many people who were so kind to us that I thought, before I'm going from this, I'd like to kind of look for these people. And, but I was in Cleveland, I came back. And then by the time I got back, the war was over. And they said they were going to close the camps. And Amachi was a camp that was very quiet, no riots, no anything, but everybody was just contented, not contented, but never had any fights, or there were some camps that had some terrible situations. So they decided to close Amachi, Colorado first, because then we would be setting an example for all the other camps that when they close, everybody goes. So my father said, well, where do we go? We lost everything, we have nothing to go to. They said, well, you're going to be dropped off in Berkeley, California. And my father said, we don't know anybody in Berkeley. Then we got something from the Red Cross, and it had a note to my father, and the Red Cross said, when you get to Berkeley, there is a family that is going to be in Alameda, and they want you to live with them. And it was a family that had many children, and my father became a gardener, and he became very successful before the war, and he hired 2 of their children. And they were youngsters, they were maybe 19, maybe 18, and he hired them, and that helped. That family had about 5, 6, 8 children. Now they were all grown, and they were in a camp in Arkansas, and they called the Red Cross, and they said, can you somehow, or the Red Cross, you know, did these things for us, and they said, do you need to get messages to anybody where you're going? And they were still in camp. And so they got the Red Cross, and Red Cross got a hold of us and said, when you get to Berkeley, get to Alameda, and you will have a place. So this family in Arkansas was let out early. That camp was closing much after ours, and then they let that family out early, even before us, and they got their place ready in Alameda. So when we were dropped off in Berkeley, the first thing I saw, University, we were let off at University, and right at the end of University Avenue, where the railroad tracks are, the first thing I saw, way up in the hills, was UC Berkeley. And I thought, oh, so all this time I think, isn't that coincidental that the job that I got, and you know, after I got out of college, we had a lot of difficulty in getting jobs. Am I running overtime?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, what happened was we got back to Alameda, and I was only 16, and we lived in this little cottage in the back where this Japanese family offered us, you know, to stay. And they were all adults. And so my father, then, when he was a gardener before the war, he had over 200-300 bamboo rakes imported from Japan. He was very successful. Now he didn't even have a lawnmower. And so he went knocking on everybody's door. And you know, during the war, everybody's working for the naval bases, army bases. They were making good money. So my father would say in his English, not perfect English, would you need a gardener? Do you need someone to clean your house? Whatever. They said, are you a gardener? He said, we haven't had gardeners during the war. And he said, yes, gardener. He said, whoa, would you do our garden? And so my father said, no lawnmower, no equipment that he had so much of. And so they said, well, we have what do you call, lawnmower. And so he went and got the lawnmower. He said it was all rusty, but he went to the dime store, he had 15 cents and got a file, and he filed down and honed it down so sharp, and he worked all day that day and fixed the garden. So when the owner, the man of the house came, he was flabbergasted. He said, and my father had just finished. And then he said, did you do the gardening? Are you a gardener? And my father said, yes. Then the neighbor next door came and he said, are you a gardener? He said, yes. Do you know, to make a long story short, everybody hired my father. He didn't have a car, he didn't have equipment. He got the whole block. Later, he got this. And so this is how, and he was getting 75 cents an hour. This is what it was. So I thought, and then my father came home one day, he said, I want you to go to this house. There's a lady there wants some help. And he didn't tell me what it was. I said, okay. And so he gave me the address, and I walked about a mile there. And then I went, my father said, go to the back door, you know, as though we were very subservient. And I rang the bell at the back, and this lady looked down, and she seemed kind of puzzled. And she said, I said, my father said you needed some help today. And she thought it would be my mother, my father's wife. And then, you're the one your father sent you? And I said, oh dear. She said, how old are you? And I said, 16. It's too late now. And she had me come in, and then she said, I want you to clean the house. I'm having company tomorrow, and I had to clean the whole house. And then after I finished, she wanted me to do this ironing. I didn't know I was going for that. And then she left for the day, and she said, I'll leave an envelope for your pay on the dining room table. So I didn't bring my lunch or anything. I worked all day. I cleaned 2 bathrooms, and then when I finished, I ironed everything. I put it on the racks. I was exhausted, and I didn't bring a lunch, and I wouldn't dare open a refrigerator. I mean, that would be wrong to take food. That would be stealing. And so after 5 o'clock, it was about 5:15, I walked home, and then I went to the grocery store to buy some food, and then I cooked for my father, my mother, my brother. And I gave this envelope to my father. I just gave it. I didn't even open it. And he put it in his back pocket. About 7:30, the phone rang in the big house, and they said, Cookie, it's for you. I said, who is it? They said, we don't know. And so I ran up there. And when I came down, my father said, who would be calling you? We just got back here from camp. Who would know you're here? I said, oh, it was that dumb lady, you know, the dumb lady that I worked for today. He said, what do you mean, dumb lady? He said, what did she want? And I said, she said to me, did you clean the bathrooms? He said, did you? I said, yes, I did it twice. I was on my hands and knees. And you know, now we have sprays, but that time it was Clorox and Dutch cleanser. And I remember getting on my hands and knees, and twice to my father, she asked you if she cleaned the bathroom, or did you? I said, yes, twice. She took this envelope and he said, go return it. I said, what? He said, go return this. You didn't do a good job. Do you know, I was flabbergasted, and I started to cry. I was so tired. My mother said, she just felt so terrible for me. And I walked, it was dark, we didn't have a car. I walked that full mile. I went to the back door, rang the bell, and this lady looked out, and she said, yes. I said, I came to return the money. And she said, what? She said, well, you called, and so my father said I didn't do a good job, and I came to return the money. And she took that money and went home. I cried all the way home, and my mother said, you know, your father needed that money too. He really needed that money, but he was trying to teach you something. That when you do something, you do it the best. I said, I did do the best I can. But she said, well, then it should have been better. And she said, and she felt terrible for me because she was, you know, flat on her back. She was sick. But this is the kind of ways that most of us, of Japanese, you know, heritage, our parents were very much, wasn't the money, you do it right. And so my father wanted me to go on to college. And I was only 16, and I was so angry that I said, but there's a naval air station in Alameda. So I got up early, and I got some money to take the bus to the naval air station in Alameda. And I got there 6:45, and I said, I'm going to apply for a job. And when I got there, it wasn't open yet, but I was the first one there in the employment office at 6:45. And all the workers came in, and I filled out a form, and I put it in. And I thought they would, you know, say, well, go to this building, you'll have an interview. I was there to 20 minutes. almost quarter to 20 minutes to 12. Other people came in, they filled out the form, and they were sent out. And I'm sitting there thinking, they're not sending me out for an interview. And I said, it's the same old thing again. We're being prejudiced against. I'm Japanese. And so I thought, then all of a sudden, 4 officers came in, white hat, gold stripe. And I happened to look, and I saw this gentleman. I said, Mr. La Jeunesse. I knew his name. And he looked at me, and he was a commander. He said, oh. He said, yes. I said, you won't remember me, but you were my principal when I left grammar school in Alameda when I had to leave. He said, of course I remember you. And I thought, oh, he's just saying that, Of course. He said, what can I do for you, young lady? And I said, I told him what happened. I've been here since quarter to 7, and I was not sent out for an interview or anything. I didn't realize he was head of employment, and he went right back into the, it's all glassed in, and I could hear his voice. He came out, gave me a form, he took me outside, stopped a sailor who was going on a jeep. Please take this young lady to A&R, 3rd deck. And I was flabbergasted. And I thought, why would he ever remembered me? But when we left, my mother had a 1-pound box of See's candies. My brother was to give it to his, 5th grade teacher. And she gave me a box of candies to give to my 8th grade teacher, and we wrote thank you on it, and to the principal, and he was our principal, and we took him a 2-pound box. And I thought, why would he remember me? But, we did well in school, and so I thought, maybe that's why he remembered me. And so I thought, oh, well. So I told the sailor, well, you're going to drop me off? He said, well, A&R is the biggest building on the naval base. Biggest. And I said, well, what's 3rd deck? He says, that's Navy talk, it's 3rd floor. I can't go in there, but you have this pass, so you will go in there and go to the 3rd floor. So I went to the 3rd floor, and I thought, oh, these people. And I thought, oh, well, they'll interview me and I won't get a job. I went in there, it was quarter to 12 by then, and I asked some man, do you know where this office is? That private office there. So I went in, it was all glassed in, and there was one gentleman, and there was a woman, and she was a wave. Do you know what a wave is during the war? The women, they enlisted in the Army, and they were called WACs. If they were enlisted in the Navy, they were called waves, and there was this woman, she was a 6-footer, bare feet, and I went in and I said, I brought this paper. He said, oh, yes, and he got this wave. He said, please help Mr. Kano, right away, tell her the job. And she said, what? She's taking my job? She was furious. And she said, you're taking my job? And he said, never mind, tell her all the responsibilities. Because I was just a kid, and I was 16. I did have short heels on, and I was dressed up. And then she rattled off everything. But when I was in camp, I had taken shorthand, and we had to study. We had to be number 1 in class, so everybody had to be number 1 in class, no matter what the Japanese parents were concerned. So when I had a notebook with me, so when she's telling me what to do, I'm writing everything, following her around, writing everything down, and I knew she was terrible to me. And then this gentleman saw it. He heard this all. And then she said, I'm out of here. She said, and it was 12 o'clock on the button. She said she was discharged. She was getting out of the Army and out of the Navy. And that was it. That was her last day. She didn't say good luck, anything. And I said, thank you very much. And she just went. She was furious as somebody like me, like a kid taking her job. So he said, did you get everything? I said, I think so. And then so I went home and I transcribed everything and I wrote it out. So I got there very early. My shift was quarter to 7. I got there, and there was a big board. I was supposed to write all these reports, and the reports would be on the desk when I got in, and she told me that. But I couldn't reach the board. It was so high, and I couldn't reach it. I thought, gosh, and then there was a chair, but it had wheels on it. And so I knew I would slide off that. And when my boss came in, I said, I've done all these other things, but I can't. And he said, well, these men, there are 12 men, and they're all the bosses, and they come and they take it off. And I said, but I can't. And so he got on the phone, and he called downstairs, and within 10 minutes, 2 sailors came up, and they had steps made for me, 3 steps. They said, get on there. And I could reach the thing. So then I got up there and I rode as fast as I could. And then within about 5 minutes, these 10 men came up. They're all supervisors in this big building. And it was their information they were supposed to have because somebody placed the night before another department. And they said to my boss, really, this is the first damn time we could read the writing. This is the first damn time we could read the writing, they said. And then he looked at me and he kind of winked at me, and I thought, oh, gee, that was nice. And then and they went off very happy. And then so I finished, and it was 11:45 or 10:30. I said, Mr. Whiston, I said, I'm through with my work. Is there something else I can do? He said, you finished all your work? And I said, yes. And it was going maybe 20 minutes to 11. He said, did you do the so-and-so? Did you distribute the so-and-so? And I had to run around the building to give to the officer. And I finished everything. He said, oh. He said, well. Then someone called, and then he said, this was the captain. He's the head of the Naval Air Station. He said, that was a real nice report. He could read it for a change. And he said, you did a nice job, Miss Takano, he said to me. And I said, oh, thank you. And I said, but I'm sitting there, nothing else to do. That way took all day to do the whole thing. I guess, she just, so he goes out to the outer office, big office. He says, hey, Red, he calls out this man. He says, do you need help? He says, Dewey. And he says, well, I have Miss Takano, she can help you. And he says, do you mind? I said, no, that's fine. So I went out to the outer office, and then I helped them all day. And then this boss over there came in there. He said, can she work for us part-time? He said, no, she's my employee. He said, yeah, but she came to help. And well, never mind. He said, no, I'm not going to give her to you. And I was only 16. I was very happy. So I went home, and my parents were worried how well I would do. And I said, no, I like my job. But I said, they're not very busy, so they had me do something else. But so it would help both sides. Then I said, I did an injustice. I said, but when I took this job, I should have told you I can only stay a year because my parents want me to go to college. And they said, that's all right. You come after college, do your classes, come here, you can work part-time for us. And I said, but my idea, my parents' idea was that I should get as quickly as possible out of college and then get a job. But, in thinking back all this time, nice people that helped me along the way, times when I had very difficult times, especially when I came to UC Berkeley. I went to college, and we had a famous college called Armstrong College, and it's now gone. Very expensive. Cal was $29, mind you, a semester at that time. Armstrong was $100 a quarter. Berkeley was on California. Berkeley, UC was on a semester basis, and so $29. But you went 4 years. Armstrong, as much as you could take. And so my father consulted some people who were much older than I, much older, and they said, well, why don't you, it's going to cost you money, but why don't you send it to Armstrong? So I went to Armstrong, and I took many courses, and it was not 16 units. You took as much as you could. And there many Japanese people came there from Fresno, all over. They all stayed in Caucasian homes because they couldn't afford room and board or the dormitories. But I commuted from Alameda. It took me like over an hour every day. But I wasn't able to stay in a dorm. We couldn't afford that either. And so when I graduated, Mrs. Armstrong, it was Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong, it was their college, and they were very famous. And then we got to know each other quite well. She asked me to do things for her. So then when we graduated, went to look for jobs. We couldn't get jobs, none of us. We just could not get a job. And she said, she showed me this thing and all that yellow clips on there, and that was us, yellow, Japanese. All these people are wanting graduates from Armstrong, and every one of our students, quotation, have gotten a job, but none of the Japanese. And we thought, oh, here we go again. And it was very, very bad. And we went all over the place, and then Mrs. Armstrong called me. She said, I have a friend, she's my sorority sister, and she has an opening. And I asked her if she would interview you, and it was a woman called Marie Wegener here in this department. And she said, I'd like you to go get interviewed. So I came here, and I was interviewed, and she asked me a lot of different questions, and then after she said, well, I will get back to you, I have many more to interview. And she said, I will call you again. So about a week later, she called me again. And I came in and she was talking to me about different things. And again, she said to me, well, I will get back to you because I have some other people to interview. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to get a job here. And then, so I went back to Armstrong College, and she said, well, did she hire you? I said, no, she had many more to interview. And the look on her face was, I could tell there was not, something was not right. And so I got another call. So the third time I came again, and she interviewed me, and she said, do you know Mary Tamaki? And I said, oh yes. Amy, her sister and I graduated Armstrong College, too, but her sister Mary Tamaki's on the campus here, going to school here. She said, oh, no, no, no. I said, oh, well, I do know Mary. She said, she's my cleaning lady. She said to me, she's my cleaning lady. I said, oh. I thought, well, it must be a Japanese lady. And, you know, they have Japanese names, so a lot of when they were doing domestic work, the Caucasian person would give them a name, and she probably just gave it the name Mary. And so I knew it had to be a Japanese lady from Japan, because we didn't do domestic work, you know, we were going on to school. Our parents would have done domestic. And she says she's so wonderful, she's the best person that ever came to clean my house. She's the only one that's ever cleaned under the bed. And then she looks at me, she said, but you know what, I like you better because you speak better English. Your English is fine. My worker, Mary, does not speak English too well. I thought, my goodness, she's considering me to do the domestic job for her. And I thought, well, this is it. Then she kept looking at me. She said, well, you know, my friend, Mrs. Armstrong said, you would make a fine employee. And she thought about it about, well, this is my third interview, but she was considering me to be her domestic job. Well, let's give it a try. And she said, let's go on the other. And then we came into the big room. And then she said, I want you.
You're talking about the Department of Agriculture and Resource Economics at Berkeley.
Yes.
So,
You're in Giannini now already?
and then I got my interview here. She interviewed me 3 times. And then she said, I want you to meet our new staff member. We will call her Cookie. Her name is, oh, I can't pronounce her first name, Miss Takana, we'll call her Cookie. And somebody in the back said, Cookie? And she said, do you know Miss Takano? She said, yes. I knew her at Armstrong. She was my tutor. And so, and, you know, we would look for jobs 3, 4, 5 months after we got out of school. And so she said, well, then I'll have her desk moved next to yours. And then she said, oh, Cookie, I'm so glad. She said, oh, I'm so glad they hired you. And she had had a job 3 or 4 months ahead of me. We graduated at the same time. And she said, you know, she was failing each time, and her parents were very wealthy and donated a lot to the college. And so she told me, Miss Takano in college, would you tutor her? We need to have her graduate with her family so upset. And I tutored her, and I didn't get paid for it. And I told my parents, I'm tutoring this girl. And my parents got angry. You don't ask for money. This is a privilege that you have to tutor her. And this is the way my parents' attitude. And so I tutored her. She said, I'm so glad. She said, what did they start you with? I said, $150. You know, when I worked in Naval Air Station at 16, I got $142. Yet when they hired me at Giannini Hall after I graduated, she hired me at $150. And this girl said to me, she said, they started me $186, but next month I'm getting, and she'd only been there maybe 4 months. She had been on vacation. And she said, they're going to give me $200 and something, $250. And she said, they'll probably do that for you too. I said, no. I said, Mrs. Wegner said, I'm on probation for 6 months. She said, what? And I said, yeah. And so if I do all right, I'll stay here. And, and then the first day I was there, and all the people are very nice to me. The door opened at 4:30, and this woman came in to me that hired me. She said, Miss Takano, I'm sorry to do this to you on your first day, But our chairman and director needs this at 8 o'clock in the morning. He has to make a presentation. Everybody else is busy, so can you take this at 4:30 that first day I was here? So I looked at it. Yes, I thought, but 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So then she closed the door and went out. And I read through it, and I've been trained at Armstrong, so punctuated it. And everybody said they felt terrible for me. They knew this wasn't right. And as they were going out the door at 5 o'clock, one girl said, Cookie, I would stay and help you, but I have a babysitter, and I have to pay her, so I can't help. And other people felt terrible for me. They had worked all day. I got this at 4:30. And I worked on that until 10:15. I finished it. I put it on his desk. And I hadn't even met this man. And so, and then I ran down the stairs, got on the streetcar, transferred 3 times to get home to Alameda. I got home after 11, maybe 11:20. My mother and father were so worried. And then they were angry that I didn't call. And I said, there was a phone in our office, one phone. It said, absolutely unscrewed, no personal calls. And I thought, they're testing me. This is my first day, I better not use the phone. And I didn't know that there was a phone downstairs public, but it was in the basement. So I ran all the way down Shattuck. I got home. But they were so relieved that I was safe, I got home. But then I got up crack of dawn because I had to transfer 3 times to get to Berkeley. And I got here, and I was waiting outside. And at 5:02, the rest of the girls came in. They said, Cookie, what are you doing out here? I don't have a key. They said, they didn't give you a key? Marie Wegner didn't give you a key? I said, no. And they said, did you get that work done? I said, yes. They said, what time did you get home? I said, after 11, by 11:20. You stayed that late? And I said, yes, but I didn't finish till 10:15 or so. And so they were very kind to me, all the rest of the workers. And all of a sudden, I was taking the typewriter cover off, and the door opened, and this gentleman said, Miss Takano, perfect job, beautiful. He said, I thank you very much. I'm taking it with me right now. I looked up, and I had never seen him. I said, who is he? They said, he's the chairman director. You know, he later became president of the entire university, 10 camps, Harry Wellman. And we became the best of friends. And every time he took a trip, he'd bring me a little gift. And I said, who is he? They said, he's the chairman director. And this one lady said, I've done work for him for 13 years. He's never thanked me. She said that to me. And I thought, wow, I was so happy. But I think that this lady wanted me to do so poorly that I would be fired. Somebody said to me, I don't think I would have done it. I would have left. One of the ladies had been here 3 or 4 years. But I needed that job. We all needed our jobs. And so, you know, every Japanese girl my age or younger like Grace. Grace was here maybe 30 years. All of us, because we couldn't get jobs. When we got the job, I stayed here 42 years. And then soon thereafter, however, I became the head of the department over the others. I was the youngest one, and they selected me of the head of the, and they were younger than I, people who were younger than older than I, who had been here longer. But so I stayed here 42 years. And many of my friends that started at the same time, my other friends that worked in BizAd, the other one, they all worked in academia. And my one girlfriend worked at the president's office, and we still see each other. And she was here almost 40 years. She graduated Cal, and she couldn't get a job. And she got a job at the president's office.
Can you tell us about that haircutting episode early on?
Oh, when I went to the beauty shop?
A hair cutting episode.
Yes. It was the first week I was here, and then I couldn't afford to get a permanent yet. And so on the Friday, I said, next week I'll look a lot better. And they said, what do you mean you look fine? I said, no, I'm going to get a permanent. I made an appointment. And I have an appointment tomorrow. It was a Friday. It was Saturday. I'm getting my hair done. And so they said, oh, that's nice, you know. And I went to the beauty shop. And then I walked in, and they said, yes, may we help you? I said, yes, I have an appointment for a permanent today at 9 o'clock. They said, oh, are you sure? I said, yes. What is your name? And I said, well, the lady put down Cookie, because my Japanese name is, so she put down Cookie. Well, there's no Cookie here. She flipped out, there's no cookie. And she looks, did any of you take an appointment for this lady Cookie? They're all shaking their heads. She said, well, you must have called another beauty shop. I said, no, because that was the only one I could walk to. And there were only 2 beauty shops then. And the other one was way on the other end. And so, no, I did call here. They said, well, I'm sorry, no, you're not listed down here. And so when I went back to work Monday, the same hairdo, and then they said, Cookie, we thought you were going to get a permanent. And I told them what happened. They felt terrible for me, you know, the girls I worked with, the ladies, and I could hear them whispering. And then Friday they said, Cookie, why don't you go back to that beauty shop? Oh no, I said, I never want to go there. I don't even want to go in front of the store. Go back there, go back there. And so I said, no, I'm not. And I could hear them whispering. And Friday I left the office. And then Saturday I was walking down and I went downtown. And I thought, I'll just see what's going on. So I went in front of, I turned the corner, went in front of the beauty shop. And it was empty. I mean, all the ladies, they all used to wear white then. And nobody was under the hair dryers. Nobody was in the shop except the workers, the beauticians. And I thought, gee, that's funny. I wonder why. And so when I got back to the office here, Monday, they said, Cookie, did you go to the shop? I said, yes. They said, did you see, what was it? What did you see? I said, you know, it was so crazy. That place is a very busy beauty shop. Nobody was there. And 2 people had the door open like they were waiting for customers. And there were about 5 beauticians there, white. There was not one person in the shop. And one girl slapped her. She said, it worked. And I said, what are you talking about? They said, when you told us what happened, each one of us called for an appointment. And we asked for a permanent. Well, they always allow a minimum at that time, 2.5 hours for each one of us called and made an appointment for a permanent at 9 o'clock. And none of us went. None of the girls in my office showed up. You know, I wanted to cry. It was so nice of them to do this for me. And I thought, you know, with all the bad things that it might happen, there are many, many more nice people. And so...
Cookie, I want to thank you for sharing these memories with us.
Well,
and any last words? You have 3 minutes if you want to share some words. Otherwise, I'll just turn off the recorder and just thank you very much.
Well, that's what I want to do is if any of us made it through and became successful or whatever, we're able to become what we want to do. We have all the nice people. There are more nice people than ever. And we came to recognize that with all what we did face, there are far nicer people than not so nice people. And we thank all of you for taking this interest. And I thank you today for listening to my tale of woe. And this is like my second home, being here. And I stayed here 42 years. And I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Well, you made a lasting mark in the department. we should name one of the rooms Cookie Hall or Cookie Room.
Good idea. Let's do that.
The ladies' room.
The Cookie Room. We'll just call it the Cookie Room.
You know, before you left, you were running this place.
No, but you know this. You know, there's a
It's a special place, but it takes special people to make it special, and I'm sure you had a lot to do with it.
Well, you know, you couldn't beat this department. And I used to brag of this was the #1 department in the world.
It is.
Really.
You can say it was and it is.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, and I'm concerned it still is. But there was a gentleman. He became a professor at Harvard, and he got the Nobel Prize. He came from here.
You mean Galbraith?
Galbraith. Is he
He's
still
your buddy, right?
Is he still alive?
No.
He came by one day, and we all knew he was coming. They were saying, if you see him, bring him into the chairman's office, and somebody can, no, he said, I want to see Cookie. I was flabbergasted. He had won the Nobel Prize, and the students at Harvard gave him a gold Cadillac. I remember that, but I didn't think he would remember me at all. But,
thank you,
he
Cookie.
passed away. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And someone has told me that they wished I would write book. So many things did happen.
Well, maybe we'll do another session and you can fill in more
Oh,
about
yeah.
the university days.
But I want to thank you for being interested enough to come and want to hear this. Thank you very much.
With your permission, we'll make this video available to our department.
Well, oh gosh, here I'm correcting all the English of the.
It is perfect.
And then mine.
It was spontaneous and perfect. Thank you,
Very few
Cookie.
people could talk that coherently like that.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming and having some interest in it, because I will be 87 next month. Like I said, April Fool's Day. That's another thing. I said, oh, I would be born on April Fool's Day, but my generation, Grace was 12 years younger than I. Grace Dote. And so she said to me she didn't remember a thing because she was only a year old, and she would ask me about things because I was 12. And my sister, that age group, they don't even want to remember it. I don't even want to talk about it. I'll ask my sister, remember, oh, Cook, don't remind me, But my group, I guess we were very impressed about different things. But I would like, you don't have to record this, but I just want to tell you something. Food was not always, there were many things. When I finally got to Cleveland, I ate my first banana in 3.5 years. But the thing was, we had a Japanese teacher, and